Welcome to Stories of Hope. I'm Christine Hotchkiss. Each week, I bring you stories that will inspire you, educate you, and give you hope. I love saying that. Thank you to my studio sponsor, the Motivated Mind Group, located right here in downtown Chandler, your global creative agency. I also want to say thank you to my business partner today for this episode, and that is Pure Luxury Tint and Detailing, where they do tinting, detailing, paint protection, film, ceramic coating, and vinyl wrapping, located right here, also in Chandler. Their number is 480-560-8143. It's been a long time seeing this guest today, and I'm very blessed to have the opportunity because it's also her birthday. My guest today is Bernice Berry. She's a wife and the mother of two, a grandmother of 7, and an entrepreneur in Chandler, Arizona. Her story is going from homelessness to being catapulted into entrepreneurship by beating the odds with this is good, survival mode mindset. Please help me welcome my guest today, Bernice Berry. Welcome.
Hi.
It has been a long time.
A very long time.
I know you through my son, so I feel like I've gotten to know you through my son versus me having to have known you personally. So yes. I'm glad you're giving me this opportunity to share your story. My son was very taken by your story, I guess, when he had some stuff done on his car. You shared where you started, like we do when we're sitting there getting our nails done or getting a massage, and you just opened up, and he's like, Mama, she's got a story to tell, so I'm going to have you to share that today. Homeless. I honestly believe everyone should have a place to call home.
Agreed.
But sometimes a home is a car.
Yes.
Until they get on their feet. Sometimes it's someone's couch.
Yes.
So tell me where this homeless comes into your life.
Well, I was in a horrible, violent relationship with my ex-husband, and we were married a total of 2.5 years, and several times the beating was so bad that I ended up in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
And on my second child, he was always trying to punch me in the stomach. When I was pregnant, and I was able to, I don't know how my kids survived, but they did, and thank goodness that they did. When I was 9 months pregnant with my son, he threw me out of the car, and I fell face flat on the pavement because I was trying so hard to protect my stomach. And I opened up my face right here, and he kept trying to get me into the car and pulling me by the hair and everything, and I just pretended like he wasn't there, and I just kept walking to the hospital, and it was like 8 blocks down, and I was in so much pain, but I said, okay, God. I think I was in so much shock, I didn't really feel the pain. I knew the pain was there. Mm-hmm. So I just kept walking and praying. And that was when God gave me my out. And I said, God, all I need is some sort of clue that there is someone else in his life that he is happy with, so I can walk away in peace.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. You had determination right there, not just for yourself, but for your unborn child.
Yeah. And it was a very scary moment. And shortly after that, my son was born. And then 4 months later, I felt like there was somebody, and one morning he came home, and he had been gone for 3 days, and he changed his shirt, getting ready to go to work, and he had hickeys all over him, and I thought, you know what, no. She can have you. Yeah. And he's like, there's nobody else, and I'm like, okay, so you're still high and you're still drunk.
Oh no.
They or she can have you. Yeah. And I said, I won't be home when you come home today, and we kind of got into an altercation, and I punched him really hard, and I grabbed those babies, and in my pajamas and barefooted, we ran 2 blocks, and I got to the fire station. I said, hide me, he's coming after us, and he's going to kill me. And I said, just call 911 and have the cops come over here.
How old were you?
I was 21, 22. Yeah, 22 years old I was.
At an age where we're really not sure who we are, mm-hmm. and yet now we have the responsibility of being a parent. And trying to figure out life, and then going through things that shouldn't have happened. And I've been told before that sometimes we come from a background that we fall into the habits of things we didn't know that exist in our life. And I'll share this because I'm open about my life too, is you're triggering some stuff in me, as I'm sure a lot of people that are going to be seeing this or hearing this is going to be the same thing. And that is, I have the background of being from a domestic violence situation with my mother being in that position, and us as children were witnessing this. And then it turned into where we thought that was our norm. So then we went through our life thinking that we were attracting those people, and that's not. Yeah. I always tell people that our lives, we learn things, and we won't know what's the right thing or what's meant for you until something different or someone different has presented something different to say that's not right, that's not what's supposed to be. You trigger me because you have tears in your eyes, and I'm sorry if I'm making you cry.
It's okay.
But I know that anyone out here also wants to know more about the strength, because you had this motivated mindset that you weren't going to stay there anymore. Where was that strength besides the physical part about you saying, you can have this person with all the hickeys and everything? Where did you go, I'm done?
I think it was when he threw me out of the car. I was like, they say that God will knock on your door several times. And I think that was his knocking on my door. And it woke me up, and I became very aware of what was going on. Back in high school, I was in sports. I was very strong, very successful, and make it to city, to district, to state. And I was doing so good. So I thought, how did I end up like this? I wasn't on drugs. I wasn't an alcoholic. I just chose the wrong person. And going to church one time, there was a sermon that said, if you're in your house and you're not being treated like the queen, that you're supposed to be the queen of your house. And he goes through the whole spiel. And the same thing, if you're in your house and you're not being treated like the king that you are in your home, then these are the things that you need to do. You're not meant to be together, and this is God letting you know. When things go smooth, that's the spouse for you. So I thought, wow. Well, that just resonated in my head, and I said, okay, well, this is not the man for me. So when he came home like that, I thought, now's the time.
So you ran with your babies in your pajamas. As I'm sure anyone that has been in this situation or heard of other people being in this situation, that's not uncommon when someone's in that fight or flight
that was me.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people understand that statement.
Yep.
How did you, with not having anything, where did you go? What did you do?
Well, I called my aunt who lived about an hour away, and she came through, and he obviously got picked up and taken to jail, and I just packed all my clothes, left everything there. And I stayed with her for a couple weeks, but she had 4 kids of her own, so that was uncomfortable because it was too chaotic for me. I needed some peace in my life at that moment. So I bought a car for $1,000 that didn't really work very well, but we lived in there, and I got a gym membership so we could shower. And I had a barbecue pit right there at the park, so we lived at the park, and we made hamburgers and hot dogs and fed the homeless there, so that at night, in exchange for feeding them, that they would take care of us while we slept.
Wow. I have my own story, but not that kind of story. That is beautiful in the sense that you found the strength and the determination, like you said, that self-motivation. So you're also an entrepreneur and a successful one at that. But what were the trials that you had to go through before you got to where we're going to talk about where you are today? You had 2 small children. Did you have family here?
I did not.
That's even harder.
I had an estranged aunt who no one really spoke with. So I tried to connect with her, but that didn't work out too good.
Okay. So in exchange of giving service, which we're always talking about, doing stuff for other people always feels good, and you don't do it to get something in return, but you never know who's going to need it, or like we did with the 2020 era, who's going to need it even when they didn't think they were going to. I think we can all qualify under that one.
You are very correct.
I had a guest tell me that we are all one tragedy or trauma away from losing everything. It's very true.
It's so real, because one minute I have a roof over my head and he's never home, but I had food on the table. I had a roof over my head, and I got 2 jobs and was going to school for business management, living in a car. But it was embarrassing, but I had to just psych myself out and say, you know what, you're just camping.
I was just going to ask you, because the visual part, and we had talked about this, a place to call home, and I didn't know that you were in your car. So when I said that, I was like, oh, now I kind of feel bad, but I don't. But it's the reality of people's lives too, is there's the car, the park bench, someone's couch, or wherever they can find a place to rest their head to get back up. I know that I've heard of some college students that are living that way because they don't have the means of, or the money to be able to go to school. Everything they're doing, door dashing or whatever they can to waitressing, to go to school just so they can better their lives for their future, which is really great. So with your 2 kids and in your car, tell me a time that you were in the car that your thoughts were, is there anything better that's going to come from this? And I hope I said that right, because I've not been there, but in my mind I'm imagining, is this all there is? There's got to be more.
So in the beginning, I'm trying to psych myself out and say, you're camping. Remember when you were camping when you were little? It's the same thing, only this is not a tent, it's better than a tent. And we had a sunroof, so it was a Saturday and I had no school. I was off of work that day and I didn't know where to go. I mean, I couldn't go to my parents' house because both of them had already told me no, that I couldn't stay with them. So I just chose not to visit them. And I just kind of felt very degraded and embarrassed. Mm-hmm. So if I don't produce any conversation with anybody, I'm gonna have to discuss any of my home life. Mm-hmm. So I'm laying there in the seat, the kids are asleep taking their afternoon nap, and I'm looking up into the sunroof and it's raining.
Mm-hmm. I love rain, so it's peaceful.
And I didn't know whether to call it a blessing or sadness. Maybe God was sad for me, or should I feel sorry for myself? And then all of a sudden, it's just like, God's blessing me. He's sending me a blessing. Things are gonna get better. And that Monday, I had signed up for a networking meeting. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, a lot of these, and in my mind, a lot of these rich people go to the networking meetings. I wonder if I can help some of these rich people. And
so you were looking for work versus...
Well, no, I was working.
Okay.
I was working at the doctor's office, and I was working at a bar, a pool hall, and bartending there.
Okay.
And then I was going to school in the middle of all of that. Uh-huh. But I knew that there was more, that this was not my destination. It was not meant for me. And I thought, I have a chance to do something with my life. He's not there. He can't stop me. Do something with your life. Nobody's watching. Nobody's helping. Do whatever you want. So I'm looking for these rich people to go and try to do something with my life or get some ideas. I met this very well-known developer there in San Antonio, Texas, and he says, do you know how to do construction? And I thought I started to laugh initially, and I thought, you know what, I can do it.
I'll learn it.
Uh-huh. And he says, well, what kind of experience do you have? I said, well, I help my dad work on the car, and I help him work on the house, so I know a little bit of construction. He's like, good. And he says, is there any way that you could live in my fourplex that I'm going to have you work on? And I'm like, I don't know, I got to talk to my landlord. I said, I got to talk to my landlord, see if I can break my lease. And so he's like, okay, well, let me know. So Tuesday came around, and I thought, well, I'll wait till the afternoon so he doesn't think I'm too desperate to get into that place. And I called him in the afternoon. I said, oh, by the way, my landlord is totally cool with it. I'm just going to pay him $200, and he's going to let me break my lease. And so I did that, and I was able to live in that place for, I think, 9 months.
Wow.
And so I said, well, I have no credit now. I don't know how I'm going to get into an apartment. He says, well, I'll do a 6-month lease for you. You co-sign, I co-sign, and once that 6 months is over, then you just stay there, and you can sign the lease on your own. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a great idea. But he never knew, and I didn't tell anybody I worked with or the boyfriend that I had. And he wasn't really a boyfriend, it was just somebody who I was able to talk to because it was kind of lonely. It really wasn't.
A companionship.
Yeah, because I wasn't talking to anybody. I was so embarrassed. And I didn't really talk to any family members because I didn't want anybody knowing. And
you know what comes to my mind right now, and I know a lot of people can relate to this one. Just because you look put together doesn't necessarily mean you are, right? And there's even people who do appear and are, but have other things that they're battling within. Mm-hmm. Here you had the put together, do what you got to do, in living in your car and letting people think that you had everything going on. It was one of that, oh, here's the other phrase, fake it till you make it.
Right.
How many of us know that one? you know? We're all trying to find our way in life, and some of us have had things happen that's why I asked, give me some scenario thoughts. What we were in the car is like, there's got to be more than this.
Yeah.
You can't just throw me out on the street, as we've heard the phrase. You've literally been there to where you are today, which now we get to move forward on that one. So you've got this place. Did you do the construction? Because you talked about a car there, which leads into what we're going to go into now. Did you end up working in the construction part, or did you do cars?
I didn't do the construction. I just did that one place because I did need a place to stay.
Okay.
But in the meantime, I always kept my car clean because in my mind, that was my house.
Yes.
So I always kept my car clean and super nice and sanitary. That way when the kids were back there, you know, they wouldn't get sick or anything. And I just always cleaned my car, almost to a fault. And
no, because it works out for you now.
yeah. Well, I grew up cleaning cars and working on cars with my dad because he said that you need to learn how to work on cars because you're not going to be a grown woman not knowing how to change a tire. So my favorite words were shut up and stupid when I was little, which were bad words in our house. And every time I said one of those words, I'd have to go outside and work on the cars with my dad.
As a punishment?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought, at 17, I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't like being greasy. I don't like being dirty. And I hate being under cars. That's for boys, Dad. I am not going to do that. And little did I know.
So moving forward, at the beginning of our show, I mentioned the business sponsor. It's you.
Yes.
You're very successful. So tell me how you got started doing that.
Well, I cleaned that man's that gave me the job in the construction. I cleaned his car and cleaned his wife's car, and that moved into cleaning cars for State Farm Insurance. And then I got to judges' chambers, the fire station, the police department. And I got a lot of these people that I surrounded myself to protect myself because my husband was still coming after me.
Oh, wow.
We moved 21 times in 2 years because he was not willing to let go, even though we were divorced and everything. So I just surrounded myself by people that could protect us, and I did a good job. I enjoyed doing it, and it took away a lot of the trauma that I had in my head rather than being depressed and being hard on myself. And I still carried the shame inside myself, but I thought, no, I'm going to fight this shame. And I needed instant gratification. So the instant gratification was seeing that smile in the customer's eyes and their face when they would see their car, or getting a hug. The hugs were amazing for me. That was my biggest award. I really enjoyed the hugs from my customers. You know, periodically I get a small gift, or here's lunch, I bought you lunch today. And it was nice. I needed that. I needed the love back that I had taken away from myself through my last relationship.
There's another part that goes with that, and I'm going to ask you this too. You keep saying shame and what you keep taking away, and we're all guilty of something. We get stuck in our head and we see something and it doesn't turn out the way that we hoped it to. Or maybe sometimes it's just a matter of timing. Let's not say shame now. How much self-esteem did you have?
I don't think I had any. I was willing to take whatever came my way.
Survival.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes I still do, but
I think we all do, no matter how presented and how put together we are. There's something that always makes us go back and doubt who we are, or a conversation that we'll overhear or see with someone else.
Yes.
And I don't know why our brains are doing that, and it's the work to reprogram our brains and flip that switch as soon as we recognize it too. Yeah, I go through it all the time. I know I'm not the only one, so I will say that's one of my flaws, but I know it's everybody's flaw. But I'm confident in who I am with all the things I've been through. But sometimes I do doubt certain things.
Yes.
But I think that's part of what we're supposed to be here for. So with the business, because I don't know when you actually were established, you also have other things that you do with that. So you actually, if I remember correctly, you have something to do with the Barrett-Jackson.
Oh yeah! Oh my God!
My son's like, tell him about the Barrett-Jackson. So there you are.
You remember that? Oh my goodness!
My son adores you.
He's the best.
Yeah, 28 years old, and he's got a lot in his
He's got a lot going on. He's a very brilliant young man, and
He
you
pays
did such
attention
a
to-
fabulous job with your son.
But thank you. But so he talked about the Barrett-Jackson, and if anybody is about cars, we know who the Barrett-Jackson is. So tell us how you got that.
Well, I was doing contract work through Mother's Waxes and Polishes, and they got the contract with Barrett Jackson. And for 8 years, my son and I worked on stage, wiping down the cars and on camera, and it was fun. It was super fun. I want to say that I was doing good. I was working. You know, you keep your head to the grindstone and keep working. But I think they set the stage for me. I can say that they legitimately set the stage for Bernice and my successes.
Well, that show, no pun intended, is always moving.
Yes.
So now you have more than just your detailing and the things that I mentioned as far as what your services are for your company. You offer a class.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Well, I teach window tint and paint protection film and vinyl wrap to people all over the United States. I've also taught people in Trinidad, Tobago, Puerto Rico, Cuba, as well as in Canada. So I'm going to say all over the world at this point, and hopefully there's more to come. I don't know how I was able to reach those people, but I'm glad that I did. I always call them gifts from God. And I'm very blessed. I enjoy doing it, and I know that eventually I'll be retiring soon. So I thought I need an exit program, but I didn't want to leave the industry because I am who I am because of the industry. So I wanted to give back.
That is cool. Now there's also one other thing that you need to recognize, and you're the first female for?
So in 2021, I got Female Detailer of the Year. It's the very first award given to a female in the United States. And I just feel that all of this stuff that I went through and all of these nasty cars that I cleaned is like, I earned that. My blood, sweat, and tears. I earned that one.
Yes, you did.
And there was a lot of, well, not a lot, just a few girls a little bit upset, but it's okay. I was celebrating with them, and I made sure that I let them know these are the things that I did, and I'm going to pray that you get it as well.
Well, and that's the one thing you said. I'd love to use the word celebrate, whatever it is in our lives. A lot of people say, oh, it's all about you. Well, it kind of is, but not in an arrogant way.
Yes.
If you have gone through, like you just shared, a story that no one else would know unless they asked you.
Right.
No one knows where you've traveled to get where you're at to achieve your dream and your goals. So it's really none of our business to get in someone else's lane, although I bring everybody in my lane, as to where I'm traveling in my lane for my life, because the last day that I take my breath, I get to take everything with me, and I won't be concerned about everything else. And every person that sits in that seat does get to go with me too, because I am changed by every single story, and it keeps me grounded as to being grateful that I have my own journey I have walked, but I appreciate that that is the journey I've walked, and I am grateful to know people such as yourself that can share their story without the shame, the things that you went through, because someone else is saying, is there anything more? And you go, yes, there is.
Oh, there's plenty.
Right? So you hold these classes. Are they at your shop?
Yes, they're at my shop.
Do you want to share real fast before I ask my final question here?
Yes, come to my class. I'd love to teach you, and if you're interested in cars, I'd love to teach you anything and everything cars. I'm a very curious person, and I've taught myself so many things. I've also taken a bunch of classes. I've got quite a few certifications, and if any of that stuff interests you, I'd love to have you take my class.
I love that. I love that. And I know that I want to make sure that when I do the final part of your closing that I do it correctly, because you just put out there that you teach these things. And your shop is where here in Chandler?
My shop is over on 7050 West Chandler Boulevard. I'm on the northwest corner of 56th Street and Chandler Boulevard between I-10 and the 101.
Thank you. Now, is there anything I didn't ask that you want to share? Because it's not my journey and my story. I can only ask the questions I'm curious about, because I've always been told, Christine, don't talk to strangers. Well, that worked out real well now, didn't it?
Yeah.
And the other one is, you ask a lot of questions, and my response is, I do. But they're with good intention, with a pure heart, because it's really moving forward. It's helped other people, and I've gotten to see it come full circle several times over.
Well, asking questions is not a bad thing. I do a lot of that, and I know that a lot of people get annoyed by asking questions, but I think it has brought me to where I am today. And I think that many women who've gone through this type of journey, began to dislike men and to be very ugly with men. But it's not a general thing. It was, I made a bad decision with this individual because I was retaliating against my parents.
Oh.
So God always implements the punishments necessary. And my punishment was he opened my eyes and said, okay, you don't disobey your parents. It's one of the 10 Commandments. And so once I began to look at things that way, it's like, okay, because I was one of those women who disliked men, and I never wanted to get married again. And my husband, my current husband, and I dated for, not dated, but went to happy hour, 1 drink, 1 hour. Okay, see you later, I'm gone. And finally, after a year, he asked me on a real date, and we went on a real date, and it is the best relationship. But it wouldn't be the best relationship until I released the shame, and I said, I'm going to give it 100%, unlike what I did in my last relationship. I gave it 100%, and I can say that I have one of the best marriages that I know about.
We talk about brokenness, whatever the journey, the travel is with individuals of the brokenness, and we end up treating other people through that brokenness, not knowing that that's not always the right thing.
Yes.
And we've heard the saying that you've got to have the self-love, and I don't think a lot of people understand what that really means until you've gone through doing the work to be the better version of yourself and to be the better version to anyone else that comes across your life and in your path. And one of the things I saw not too long ago was unhealed people ask for love in the most unlikable ways because they're unhealed and they don't know how to ask for help, but then they're also hurting other people because they haven't dealt with their own, not realizing that they're not healed.
Right.
So the label's just unhealed versus broken. And we all go through stuff.
Yes.
It's that turning point in our life or situation that happens and says, I don't have to be this person anymore. I don't want to be this person anymore. And how can I be, as I'm always trying every day. By the way, I was pretty fabulous yesterday. I'm going to be more fabulous today because I'm determined to make sure that I respect myself and anybody that comes in my path, not just sitting here one-on-one, but out in the world that I may come across just for a brief moment. What is my first impression of someone is no different than their first impression of me.
That's
right?
very well put.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's very true though.
Yeah.
So I have this final question. And I always say this question is, if I only was able to ask one question about someone to know anything about them, it would be this. Ready?
Okay.
What message would you like to leave everyone based on your journey?
It's kind of along the
Go
lines
ahead,
of
you've
what
got
you
that.
said. Love. Love is the foundation of everything positive. And if you're ready to change your life, love.
I like that. And I've had someone say love, but the love part is the word. It's the feeling and the emotion in it. And I'm getting you to cry again. I'm sorry. But that's why I do this, because we shut our emotions off thinking someone's going to judge us.
Yep.
Someone's going to think we have it all together when we're breaking and crying and screaming inside, or lonely, or whatever that feeling is that's not showing on the outside. And the tears and the crying and the laughing, all the different emotions, I think are what keeps us balanced as an individual. And when you show the real emotion of something you've been through and the joy also, then that makes it real, right? Just like I have so many people say, so just give me the questions before I come on the show. You know what? When I first started doing this in 2019, I did. And I was like, no, that's not organic. That's not saying, who are you?
Yeah.
But what, being prepared, life isn't giving you
No.
a preparation.
Never.
So why would I have a conversation to be prepared?
No.
It's one of those, let's sit down and let's get with it. And we're doing that. So thank you for sharing all that you have, your success in your business, who you are as a person, and what you went through to get where you're at.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for this opportunity.
I absolutely appreciate that. Whew, my heart's racing because I know some of the stuff has triggered me, but I know it's real, as well as anyone that would see or hear this will say the same and feel the same way. One more time, where can you be found?
I can be found in Chandler, over by the 10. I'm off at 7050 West Chandler Boulevard, northwest corner of 56th Street and Chandler Boulevard.
Thank you. Thank you to my studio sponsor, the Motivated Mind Group, your global creative agency located right here in downtown Chandler. I say that with pride because I love Chandler. And I also want to thank you being my business sponsor for today's episode, Pure Luxury, where you do tinting, detailing, paint protection, film, ceramic coating, and vinyl wraps. And again, you're located here in downtown Chandler. And your website is www.pureluxuryaz.com. If you have a story you want to share, know someone who has a story, please email me to the address of stories@christinehotchkiss.com. And if you'd like to be a sponsor, please email me also to the address of stories@christinehotchkiss.com. Until next time, everyone, I wish you well, and you take care. Yay.